In the heart of a vast and fertile land, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, lay the ancient Kingdom of Eldoria. The kingdom was ruled by King Aldric, a wise and benevolent monarch who was revered by his people. Queen Elara, his beloved wife, was known for her beauty and kindness. Together, they ruled Eldoria during what was often called the Golden Age, a time of peace, prosperity, and unparalleled splendor. The kingdom was a place of grand castles, bustling markets, and thriving villages. The people of Eldoria lived in harmony, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the land. The king and queen's castle, Castle Elder, was a magnificent structure made of stone and adorned with towers that reached toward the sky. The castle overlooked the capital city, Eldoria, which bustled with activity day and night. King Aldric was a just ruler, known for his wisdom in council and his bravery in battle. He had expanded the kingdom's borders through a series of strategic alliances and had maintained peace for decades. Under his rule, Eldoria became the envy of neighboring realms, a beacon of culture, wealth, and power. Queen Elara, on the other hand, was the heart of the kingdom. She was deeply involved in the lives of her people, often venturing into the villages to hear their concerns and provide aid. She was beloved by all, from the noblest lords to the humblest peasants. Her compassion was matched only by her intelligence, and she played a crucial role in advising the king on matters of state. But behind the grand walls of Castle Elder, life was not as simple as it seemed. The intricate web of politics, intrigue, and duty weighed heavily on the royal couple, and the lives of those who served them were shaped by the ever-present tension between loyalty and ambition. Beneath the opulent surface of the castle, in the shadowed corridors and hidden chambers, lived the servants who kept the royal household running. The life of a servant in Castle Elder was one of hard work, strict discipline, and often thankless devotion. Yet, it was also a life of opportunity for those who knew how to navigate the complex social hierarchy of the castle. One such servant was Lena, a young maid who had been brought to the castle at a tender age. She had been born into a poor family in one of the outlying villages, but her quick wit and sharp mind had caught the attention of the queen during one of her visits. Queen Elara, impressed by the girl's intelligence, had taken her into the castle as a servant, and Lena had quickly risen through the ranks. Lena's duties were varied and demanding. She was responsible for everything from cleaning the royal chambers to assisting the queen in her daily routines. Despite the hard work, Lena was grateful for the opportunity. She had access to a world that most people in Eldoria could only dream of, a world of luxury, power, and influence. But Lena was not content with simply serving. She harbored dreams of one day becoming a lady-in-waiting, a position that would allow her to have a voice in the royal court. To achieve this, she knew she had to earn the trust of the queen and navigate the intricate web of relationships within the castle. There was also Gareth, the king's personal squire, a young man of noble birth but without fortune. His family had fallen on hard times, and serving the king was both an honor and a necessity. Gareth was fiercely loyal to King Aldric, admiring his wisdom and strength. He trained hard, hoping to one day become a knight and serve the kingdom in a more significant capacity. Gareth's days were filled with the rigorous tasks of a squire, polishing armor, caring for the king's horse, and assisting in the preparation for hunts and battles. But he also had the ear of the king, and over time, he became a trusted confidant, privy to the monarch's deepest thoughts and concerns. Then there was Elwyn, the castle's master cook, a man of great girth and even greater talent in the kitchen. Elwyn had served in the castle for over 3 decades, creating culinary masterpieces that delighted the royal family and their guests. His kitchen was a place of bustling activity, where he ruled with an iron fist, ensuring that every dish that left the kitchen was perfect. Elwyn's life was dedicated to his craft, and he took immense pride in his work. But he was also a man of secrets, for he had once been a traveling minstrel, roaming the countryside and gathering tales and rumors. Now, he used that knowledge to stay ahead of the ever-shifting political tides within the castle. While the surface of life in Castle Elder was one of order and tradition, beneath it lay a seething cauldron of intrigue and ambition. The royal court was a place where alliances were forged and broken, where whispered rumors could determine the fate of kingdoms, and where the line between friend and foe was often blurred. Lady Morgana, a distant cousin of the queen, was one of the most influential figures in the court. She was beautiful, charming, and utterly ruthless. Morgana had her sights set on power, and she was willing to do whatever it took to achieve it. She had been angling for a marriage alliance that would place her in a position of influence, but the queen's refusal to support her plans had turned her ambition into resentment. Morgana had taken notice of Lena, recognizing the young maid's intelligence and potential. She began to subtly manipulate Lena, feeding her ideas and planting seeds of doubt about the queen's trust in her. Morgana knew that if she could sway Lena to her side, she would have a valuable asset within the queen's inner circle. Lena, for her part, was torn. She admired Queen Eldoria deeply and was grateful for the opportunities she had been given. But the allure of power, of becoming more than just a servant, was strong. Morgana's words echoed in her mind as she went about her duties, and she found herself questioning whether she would ever truly be accepted by the queen and her court. Meanwhile, Gareth had begun to sense that something was amiss. As he spent more time with the king, he noticed that King Aldric was increasingly troubled. The king's once sharp eyes were clouded with worry, and he spoke often of threats to the kingdom, both from within and without. Gareth suspected that there were forces at play in the court that sought to undermine the king's authority, but he had no proof. Elwyn, the master cook, was also aware of the undercurrents of tension within the castle. His years as a minstrel had taught him how to read people, and he knew that not all was well in the kingdom. He had heard whispers of plots and conspiracies, and he began to quietly gather information, hoping to protect the king and queen whom he had served for so long. Queen Eldoria was not blind to the growing unrest within her court. She had always prided herself on her ability to keep the kingdom united, but she knew that there were those who sought to sow discord for their own gain. The queen had long suspected Lady Morgana's ambitions, but Morgana was a skilled manipulator, and it was difficult to gather concrete evidence against her. Eldoria also noticed the change in Lena. The young maid, once so eager and devoted, had become distant and secretive. The queen had always seen potential in Lena, but she feared that the girl was being led astray. Eldoria knew she needed to act quickly to prevent Morgana from gaining a foothold in the court. One evening, after a long day of courtly duties, Queen Eldoria summoned Lena to her chambers. The queen's quarters were warm and inviting, filled with the soft glow of candlelight and the scent of fresh flowers. "Lena," the queen began, her voice gentle but firm, "you have served me well for many years. I have always trusted you and valued your counsel, but I sense that something troubles you. Speak to me honestly, for I wish to help you." Lena hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never expected to be confronted by the queen in this way. For a moment, she considered lying, but the sincerity in the queen's eyes disarmed her. "Your Majesty," Lena said, her voice trembling, I fear I have been led astray. Lady Morgana has spoken to me often, and her words have caused me to doubt myself, to doubt my place here." Queen Eldoria listened carefully, her expression unreadable. When Lena finished speaking, the queen reached out and took her hand. "Lena," Eldoria said softly, "Lady Morgana is a woman of great ambition, but her heart is not pure. She seeks power for her own gain, and she would use anyone to achieve her ends, even you. I have always believed in your potential, but you must trust in yourself and in the path you have chosen." Tears welled in Lena's eyes as the queen's words washed over her. She realized how close she had come to betraying the woman who had given her everything. In that moment, Lena vowed to remain loyal to the queen, no matter the cost. While Queen Eldoria dealt with the turmoil in the court, King Aldric faced a growing threat to his kingdom. The peace that had reigned for so long was beginning to unravel. Rumors of unrest among the noble families, whispers of rebellion, and the looming threat of an invasion from a neighboring kingdom weighed heavily on the king's mind. King Aldric had always been a strong and decisive leader, but the pressures of the crown had begun to take their toll. In private, Aldric confided in Gareth, his trusted squire. The two had developed a close bond over the years, with Gareth serving not only as the king's attendant, but also as a sounding board for his thoughts and concerns. "Gareth," the king said one evening as they sat by the hearth in his private chambers, "I fear that my kingdom is at a crossroads. The peace we have enjoyed for so long is fragile, and there are those who would see it shattered. I have received word that Lord Draven, a powerful noble, is gathering support to challenge my rule." Gareth listened intently, his respect for the king evident in his attentive posture. "My lord, you have always led with wisdom and strength. Surely the nobles will see reason and stand by you." Aldrich shook his head, a shadow passing over his face. "It is not so simple. Lord Draven is a charismatic leader, and he has promised the discontented nobles greater power and wealth if they join his cause. I have also heard troubling reports that the Kingdom of Eldoria to the south is amassing troops near our border. If they sense weakness in Eldoria, they may strike." Gareth felt a surge of anger at the thought of anyone challenging the king's authority, but he knew that anger alone would not solve the problem. "What can be done, Your Majesty?" The king sighed, his eyes betraying the weight of his years. "We must prepare for war, but more importantly, we must ensure that our allies remain loyal. The court is full of whispers and schemes, and I fear that even within these walls, there are those who would betray us." Gareth knew that the king was right. The threat of internal betrayal was as dangerous as any external enemy. "I will do whatever it takes to protect you and the kingdom, my lord," Gareth vowed. King Aldrich placed a hand on Gareth's shoulder, a gesture of trust and gratitude. "I know you will, Gareth. You are a true son of Eldoria, but we must tread carefully. There is more at stake here than just the crown. Our very way of life is in danger." As the king prepared for the possibility of war, Queen Alara took it upon herself to secure the loyalty of the court. She knew that the support of the nobles was crucial, and she began to host gatherings in the castle, inviting lords and ladies from across the kingdom. These gatherings were ostensibly social events, but they were, in truth, opportunities for the queen to assess the loyalty of the kingdom's most powerful families. At one such gathering, the queen found herself speaking with Lady Morgana. The two women exchanged pleasantries, but the tension between them was palpable. "Your Majesty," Morgana said with a smile that did not reach her eyes, "it is always a pleasure to attend your gatherings. You have such a gift for bringing people together." Queen Alara returned the smile, but her gaze was sharp. "Thank you, Lady Morgana. I believe it is important for us all to remain united, especially in these uncertain times." Morgana's eyes flickered with a hint of something. Was it fear? Or perhaps guilt? "Indeed, unity is paramount. We must all do our part to support the king." The queen leaned in slightly, her voice low but firm. "I trust, Lady Morgana, that you will always place the good of the kingdom above all else." Morgana hesitated for a fraction of a second before responding. "Of course, Your Majesty. My loyalty to the crown is unwavering." But Queen Alara was not convinced. She knew that Morgana was a dangerous woman, one who could not be trusted. The queen resolved to keep a close eye on her, knowing that Morgana's ambitions could lead to disaster if left unchecked. That night, as the guests departed and the castle fell into a quiet lull, Queen Alara summoned Lena to her chambers. The queen had noticed a change in the young maid since their last conversation. Lena had become more confident, more determined in her duties. "Lena," the queen began, "I have a task for you, one that requires both discretion and courage." Lena's eyes widened with anticipation. "Anything, Your Majesty." The queen handed Lena a small, sealed letter. "This letter must be delivered to Lord Rowan in the northern provinces. He is a loyal ally, and we need his support now more than ever. You must ensure that this letter reaches him without delay and without drawing attention." Lena took the letter, understanding the gravity of the task. "I will deliver it myself, Your Majesty." Queen Alara nodded, a look of pride in her eyes. "I have faith in you, Lena. Be careful, and may the gods watch over you." As Lena prepared for her journey, she couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The queen had entrusted her with a mission of great importance, and she was determined to prove herself worthy of that trust. While Queen Alara worked to secure the loyalty of the nobles, King Aldric made a bold decision. He summoned a council of his most trusted advisors, including Gareth and Elwyn, to discuss the growing threat of Lord Draven and the Kingdom of Eldoria. The council convened in the war room, a grand chamber adorned with maps and banners representing the different regions of Eldoria. The atmosphere was tense as the king addressed his advisors. "Gentlemen," King Aldric began, "we are facing a crisis that could determine the future of our kingdom. Lord Draven is a formidable opponent, and his alliance with the nobles could spark a civil war. At the same time, the Valorians are preparing for an invasion. We must act swiftly and decisively." One of the advisors, Lord Thorn, a seasoned warrior with a scarred face, spoke up. "Your Majesty, we should strike at Lord Draven before he has a chance to consolidate his power. A preemptive attack could catch him off guard and weaken his position." Another advisor, Lord Aemon, who was known for his strategic mind, disagreed. "Attacking Lord Draven would be risky. If we fail, it could push more nobles to his side. We should focus on fortifying our defenses and preparing for the Valorian invasion." The king listened to both sides, his expression thoughtful. "Both of you make valid points," he said finally, "but I believe that we cannot afford to wait. We must confront Lord Draven directly, but not with an army. I will go to him myself, under the guise of a parley. I will challenge him to a duel, a fight for the throne." The room fell silent at the king's words. A duel was a dangerous proposition, but it was also a way to resolve the conflict without plunging the kingdom into war. "Your Majesty," Gareth said, breaking the silence, "if you go to Lord Draven, you will be putting yourself at great risk. We cannot allow you to face him alone." King Aldric looked at Gareth with a mixture of pride and sadness. "I appreciate your concern, Gareth, but this is something I must do. If I can defeat Draven in single combat, it will show the nobles that I am still their rightful king. And if I fall, then it will be up to you and the others to protect the kingdom." Gareth wanted to protest, but he knew that the king had made up his mind. "Then I will go with you, my lord. I will stand by your side, no matter the outcome." Elwyn, who had been listening quietly, spoke up as well. "And I will ensure that you are well prepared for the duel, Your Majesty. I may no longer be a minstrel, but I still know a few tricks that could give you an advantage." King Aldric smiled at his old friend. "Thank you, Elwyn. I will need all the help I can get." The day of the duel arrived, and the tension in the air was palpable. King Aldric, accompanied by Gareth and a small retinue, rode out to the agreed-upon location, a clearing on the border of Lord Draven's lands. The sky was overcast, and a chill wind blew through the trees, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Lord Draven was already there, flanked by his own men. He was a tall, imposing figure with a cold, calculating gaze. As the king dismounted, Draven stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "King Aldric," Draven said with a sneer, "you are either very brave or very foolish to face me like this." Aldric met Draven's gaze with calm resolve. "I have come to end this conflict before it tears our kingdom apart. We will settle this like men, with honor." Draven laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Honor? There is no honor in war, Aldric. But if it's a duel you want, I will gladly oblige. I will take great pleasure in watching the life drained from your eyes." The two men faced each other, drawing their swords. The air was thick with anticipation as they circled, each waiting for the other to make the first move. The duel was fierce and brutal, the clash of steel ringing out across the clearing. Aldric fought with the skill and experience of a seasoned warrior, but Draven was strong and relentless. The two men were evenly matched, and the fight dragged on, each blow pushing them closer to exhaustion. Blood stained the ground as both men sustained injuries, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Gareth watched from the sidelines, his heart pounding with every swing of the sword. He knew that this duel would determine not just the fate of the kingdom, but the survival of his king. He clenched his fists, resisting the urge to intervene. knowing that to do so would dishonor Aldric's commitment to a fair fight. Elwyn, standing beside Gareth, observed the duel with a keen eye. He had slipped a small, potent herb into Aldric's pre-duel drink, an old trick from his minstrel days that would dull the pain of wounds and sharpen the mind. It wasn't much, but it was all Elwyn could do to tip the scales in the king's favor. The duel reached its climax when Aldric, mustering the last of his strength, parried a vicious strike from Draven and delivered a powerful riposte that caught Draven off guard. The tip of Aldric's sword found its mark, piercing Draven's side. The traitorous noble gasped, stumbling back as blood poured from the wound. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Draven's men tensed, hands inching toward their weapons, but a single glance from Gareth kept them at bay. This was a duel of honor, and they would abide by its outcome. Draven fell to his knees, his sword slipping from his grasp. King Aldric, bloodied and battered but victorious, stood over him, sword poised for the final blow. "You have lost, Draven," Aldric said, his voice steely. "Surrender, and I may yet show you mercy." Draven looked up at the king, his face twisted with pain and hatred. "Mercy? I need no mercy from you, Aldric. The kingdom will fall, whether by my hand or another's. You may have won today, but your reign is doomed." With a final effort, Draven lunged forward, but Aldric was quicker. With one swift stroke, the king ended the duel, and Draven's lifeless body collapsed to the ground. Aldric stood over his fallen foe, his sword dripping with blood. The weight of what he had just done, what he had to do, pressed down on him, but there was no time for rest. He sheathed his sword and turned to face Draven's men. "The duel is over," he declared, his voice carrying the authority of a king. "Your lord is dead, but I offer you a choice. Swear loyalty to me, and you will be spared. Betray me, and you will meet the same fate as your master." One by one, Draven's men knelt before the king, swearing fealty. The threat of civil war had been averted, at least for the moment, but Aldric knew that the kingdom's troubles were far from over. The news of the duel and Draven's death spread quickly throughout the kingdom. The nobles who had been wavering in their loyalty were cowed by the king's decisive action, and many reaffirmed their allegiance to the crown. The threat of rebellion had been quelled, and for a time, it seemed as though peace might return to Eldoria. But the victory came at a cost. King Aldric's wounds, though not fatal, were severe, and the physical and emotional toll of the duel left him weakened. He returned to Castle Elder a hero, but also a man forever changed by the burden of leadership. Queen Alara, upon seeing her husband's battered state, rushed to his side. She had feared for him every moment he was away, and now, seeing the toll the duel had taken, her heart ached for him. "You did what you had to do," she whispered as she tended to his wounds. "You saved the kingdom." Aldric nodded, but his eyes were distant. "For now, Alara, but the kingdom is still in peril. The Valorians will not wait long to strike, and we must be ready." Alara knew he was right. They had won a battle, but the war for Eldoria's future was far from over. In the weeks that followed, Eldoria braced for the coming storm. The queen's efforts to secure the loyalty of the nobles proved invaluable, as the kingdom's lords and ladies rallied behind the king. Lena's mission to Lord Rowan was successful, and the northern provinces pledged their support. Gareth, now officially knighted for his loyalty and bravery, took command of the royal army. Under his leadership, the kingdom's defenses were strengthened, and preparations for the Valerian invasion were completed. Elwyn continued to serve as the castle's master cook, but his role as a confidant and advisor to the king and queen grew. His knowledge of the world beyond Eldoria's borders proved crucial in understanding the Valorian strategies and weaknesses. The day of reckoning finally arrived when the Valerian army crossed into Eldorian territory. The battle that followed was fierce and bloody, but the people of Eldoria, united under their king and queen, fought with a determination born of love for their land and their way of life. King Aldric, despite his injuries, led his troops into battle with the same courage that had earned him the throne. At his side was Gareth, now a formidable knight, whose loyalty to the crown was unshakable. The battle raged for hours, but in the end, the Valorians were defeated. Eldoria had won, not just because of its military might, but because of the unity and resolve of its people. With the Valorian threat vanquished, peace returned to Eldoria. King Aldric and Queen Alara continued to rule with wisdom and compassion, guiding their kingdom through the challenges that lay ahead. Their reign became known as the Age of Unity, a time when the bonds between the crown and the people were stronger than ever. Lena, having proven her loyalty and courage, was granted the title of Lady-in-Waiting. She remained a close confidant of the Queen, her dreams of serving the crown fulfilled. Gareth, now one of the kingdom's most respected knights, continued to serve King Aldric, protecting the realm he loved. He became a symbol of loyalty and honor, inspiring future generations of knights. Elwyn, the master cook, retired from his duties, passing his knowledge and recipes to a new generation of cooks. But his stories of the old days, of kings, queens, and the struggles they faced, became legends that were told and retold throughout the kingdom. As the years passed, the Kingdom of Eldoria flourished. The story of King Aldric and Queen Alara, of their trials and triumphs, was passed down through the ages as a tale of courage, loyalty, and the enduring power of unity. And so, the legacy of Eldoria lived on, a shining example of what could be achieved when a kingdom stood together as one. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more delightful stories.